I'm just thankful. Like, I'm very thankful given where I came from to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like all the hardships, all the hard things that happen. I'm just grateful. That's it. Like, I can't complain too much. I can, obviously, but I'm grateful for being here.
Hi, this is Dave Douglas, and this is the Greenleaf Music Podcast, A Noise from the Deep. I'm really happy to have gotten to talk to saxophonist and composer Darius Jones this week. It was an enjoyable and an enlightening conversation. What we heard just there was a small excerpt from Darius's piece, Law and Order, from a live performance at Roulette in December 2017. We talk about Darius's process in organizing large groups of musicians, as well as the larger significance of those systems in his music and his goals for society. This episode contains Darius's work in many different formats, including playing with Matthew Shipp, with Matt Mitchell, and the quartet of voices called the Elizabeth Caroline Unit. You can find Darius's recent recordings at Ohm Fidelity. Thanks for your emails about this show at podcast@greenleafmusic.com, and I'm supposed to ask you to rate and review at Apple Music, which you could do. But I really want you, if you enjoy these conversations, to become a part of our community at Greenleaf Music, where you can support all the artists and activities. Do that by visiting greenleafmusic.com and clicking on the subscribe link. It's easy, affordable, holds hours of music you have never heard, and it supports this growing community of artists. But first, enjoy this show with saxophonist and composer Darius Jones. Then go do that. And thanks. Darius Jones, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to you about the music and saxophone and so many topics.
It's a lot.
So I'm going to start with that piece that we just heard a little bit of called Law and Order, large ensemble piece.
Yeah.
And you have a pretty unique way of organizing those kinds of groups.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, Law and Order is basically a game piece that functions like I give all I think it's 8 people in that ensemble, which includes myself, and I give them a sheet of paper with instructions and things to do at the outset of the performance. They've never seen the sheet of paper. They don't know anything. And then I give them a timer. And then they walk on stage and never have, maybe sometimes they haven't even seen the person they've interacted with. They can't interact with each other before they get on stage.
And they get the piece of paper as they're walking on.
They get the piece of paper maybe like 10 minutes before the performance.
So they can really shed it. But it's mostly sight reading.
Yeah, it's totally sight reading because, and that's my commentary on kind of like how law works in this country. It's just like, oh, this is the law. Really? I didn't know that. It's like these different laws. Oh, that should be illegal. It's not. You start to see how the manipulation of our society is with laws and the concept of order. It's like, oh, this person, this wife who maybe calls, is getting beat up by her husband in Louisiana, is then, calls the cops and says, hey, this has happened, but then she gets put in jail.
Right.
And she has to, be kind of subject to the laws of the land. But
the justice system and the machinations of the way the whole thing is set up.
It's all messed up. It's just like,
but that you see that as a sort of analog to the group dynamic that you're creating.
Right. Yeah. So I'm trying to create that. Like I'm trying to create that idea of like, are we really connecting? Are we not connecting? And when I do Law and Order, I kind of always approach it from that point of view of like, I'm not trying to control anything that's happening as a composer. And I'm purposely saying that they're not supposed to interact.
You are saying that the performers are not supposed to interact?
No. They're not supposed to interact at all.
They're not supposed to?
No. They're supposed to be just like how people are living in life.
Independent beings following your instructions, and everybody has different sets of instructions and timings. But do you explicitly ask them not to, quote unquote, listen to each other and react?
There is an instruction that says do not imitate.
Oh, interesting.
It's just like there is an instruction. There are instructions in there that give them really do not solo, do not do this. Like, yeah.
Right. But at the same time, not to disagree with you, but you've hired great musicians.
Right.
So your assumption is they're going to get up there and make great music.
Right.
With your score.
Right.
So you don't have an instruction that says don't make great music.
No. There is no instruction that says don't make great music. I'm hoping that as a democracy, that with these few laws that I give you, that something amazing can happen.
Yeah.
Now, the whole idea of the Law and Order piece is that this will be given to many communities and many different people. And so I'm kind of experimenting in a social way.
How many different performances have you done?
At this point, maybe 10.
And
I've done it.
Have you changed the piece as it's gone along, or has it been pretty stable?
Slight changes, like slight, but the crux of the whole thing, maybe adding little, different little instructional things, to think about, like,
Now, the results out of 10 different ensembles playing the piece, what's your success rate in terms, and this is obviously, very subjective, but how do you feel?
I feel like sometimes it works, and sometimes it is a reflection of extreme selfishness. You really start to see how people cannot, the idea of laws. There's a psychological thing going on in the piece.
You mean that certain performers, the thing that bothers you is selfish action? That they either can't do the action without being a soloist or taking the spotlight or something that is not in character with the piece.
it's the piece is whatever it is. So so I'm not saying that, that's bad. I'm saying that because there's going to be, I always say, some people may not choose to not follow any of the laws.
Right.
And that happens.
Yeah.
Like
And sometimes that's great.
yeah. And sometimes it yields amazing results. And this particular performance, I think, that you just played is an example of one of the greater performances of the piece. It's like there's a little bit of both. There's like people committing crimes, and there are people who are like, working with one another in unique ways. And
That's
stuff
what
like,
I heard. It sounded
yeah.
like a lot of teamwork.
Yeah, and it's like, and so this performance is to me an ideal representation of what it is that I would like to see in society. But then there's other performances where it's just utter chaos. It's utter just like there is no listening, there is no connecting. Even though you can be an individual and connect, you don't have to be an individual and just go against the grain. It's just like, that's not what it's all about. Sometimes you can have an individual voice and still be in harmony with everything else around you.
Well, absolutely. And a lot of your music has activism at its core, social justice messages, and equality, and all the things that we want to see in our society that so many of us are fighting for. And so, first of all, I'm grateful that you're doing that. But it's interesting to hear you say that the creation of the piece and the successful performance of it is like a model for what you'd like to see in society.
Exactly.
I'm just going to stop you on that one for a sec, because I think that about a lot of great music. That it's like a good society functions that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think we are great examples of what society can be.
So do you feel like using the model to represent not only the existing state of affairs, but also using the model, the process, if you will, exactly, to point in the direction that you think is a positive one? It seems like that's at the beginning of your composition process here, but it's also probably works on multiple levels for you. Like in the material itself, some of the words that people are asked to say signify.
Yeah, I mean, in the piece, there are things that you're confronted with. Like if you have to say these words, and they're hard to say sometimes. You're like, I can't say these. And then how do I say them in the midst of everything that's going on? The percussionist and drummer on this piece had a hard time. He really didn't say any of the words. He was like, man, I don't know how to place the words in the piece. And I was like, that's just how it is. Some people just, and so do I chastise him for that? No. Usually what I say is find your way.
Yeah.
Find your way.
Do what you have to do to be here.
Yeah. Find your way to say them. Find your way to express what it is that you need to express through those words.
One of the instructions you described to me was, within a 1 minute frame, repeat these words any number of times. And I was immediately thinking to myself, okay, could I get away with just saying it once quietly?
No, you can. You can totally do that, because come on, man. It's like that's who we are. That's humanity. Not everybody's going to run out in the street. It's just truth. There are quiet bigots and there's quiet freedom fighters. There's loud bigots and there's loud freedom fighters. That's just life. The thing that I am appalled by is apathy. That is the thing that bothers me most.
Okay. Does that come from Like as I listen to a lot of your music and read about things that have been written here and there, and there's a big spiritual component to your music that I believe comes from family traditions, right?
Absolutely.
Would you say that this instinct comes from, as a through line to connections to the spiritual and
Absolutely.
not necessarily the church, but also the church?
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely a core Rastafarian religion or philosophy, the church, growing up in the church in the South, and ideas of spirituality, transcendentalism, Buddhism, all of those things. It's just like one finding a path for themselves, believing, having a code, living by the code, no matter what happens. Is something that is greatly important to me. It means everything. And when you compromise your code, you compromise yourself. And to me, that character flaw is something that is hard for me to get over. And it always has been since I was very young. It's something that has deeply bothered me, because I feel like when you compromise yourself in that way, you disappoint yourself on a level that has these psychic ripples. And I feel like when I see that, one of the things that drew me to jazz music and to music in general is those people who had deep conviction. Like to me, like someone like Nina Simone is like a hero, superhero, because she lived her conviction. Her music is a reflection of truly who and what she is. And we all, in my mind, should aspire to that. I'm not saying, don't feed your family and do, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you can do both. You can be the true embodiment of your beliefs. And so I even have issue with it when someone says, "Oh, I'm this." And it's like, are you really that? Like, when push comes to shove, are you going to really follow through with the beliefs and the ideals that back, I really...
Well, the hypocrisy that we see daily in the news is
It's not just that. It's like in the history of our country, there's hypocrisy. Human beings constantly are in a state of hypocrisy, and this is why we're in the place we're in now. But it's just like, this is a much deeper problem. It really is. I mean, we could microcosm it, make it really small, and look at it in the realm of jazz music or jazz community or jazz industry or whatever, and we could find the same things, the same issues, and that bothers me. That's like, to me, we're not actually embracing the depth and the beauty of what it is that we do by letting these like frivolous things kind of overpower our more spiritual and human importance. Because this is like, what are you really getting out of what it is that you're doing? I hope it's something more than just like words and pennies. I mean, I hope it's something much deeper. That's my hope, and that's the kind of folks that I like to play with and interact with.
The connection that we're talking about, and as I hear you talk, I can't help hearing your alto sound in my head, because it feels like it's of a piece with the kind of commitment and courage and persistence that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is that something you've thought about? In terms of the alto specifically?
Yeah. I mean, I did. I mean, I chose to play the alto saxophone. I came to New York. I don't play tenor. I do have a soprano and stuff like that, and I will play soprano if the situation really called for it. But, the alto sound that I get is something I work on vigorously. The approach to my language is something that is like unapologetically like, I'm going to play this way. Like, and I'm not going to just play that way. I'm going to make it better and better and better and better. I'm like, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to just play something that's going to appease you all the time. It's just like, I'm going to do something that hopefully like changes something within inside of you or within inside of me or within inside some person I can't even see. You know, I'm really trying to reach, you know, a different space.
Well, you do. I'm going to play a little excerpt, and it's a beautiful band, beautiful album. The album is called Le Bébé de Brigitte.
Yes.
And then on the album, I noticed it says "Lost in Translation."
Right.
It's not exactly as strict. But let me just play a little bit of this tune that's called Universal Translator. That's great. Universal Translator. Great band. Matt Mitchell, Sean Conley, Chess Smith.
And the vocalist Emily Lesbros is on the whole entire album.
And that's a collaboration with the French-American Jazz Exchange.
Yeah. Definitely. Like,
so I was listening to this earlier today, and not to like put anything on, it's clearly you, but hearing, you know, the Giants in your playing, I couldn't help thinking Arthur Blythe.
Yeah, a lot of people hear Arthur Blythe in my playing. I mean, he is someone I listen to. I have fellow alto players out there who can definitely channel Arthur way better than I can. I think why they hear Arthur is because of just Arthur had just a striking sound. Also, I think vibrato. Also, I think he had a language and approach to playing alto that was very different. You know, like there would be times where he didn't play a lot of notes. He really kind of just like took his time and didn't try to like play all this sort of what we consider bebop language or something.
But also like really digging into the sound itself, the variations in tone and the intonation.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like Blythe did that, but I can also like Ornette did that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
true.
saying? It's just like Oliver Lake did that. Threadgill does that. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of examples.
Julius Hemphill, maybe.
Yeah, Julius. I mean, there's a ton of examples of alto players who really thought about sound, but more importantly, thought about the vocal aspect of playing the instrument.
We didn't mention Anthony Braxton, so I'm just gonna
no Braxton.
There.
The list goes on and on. But it's like this vocal kind of quality, and that's the thing that drives my playing. I'm thinking vocally, and I think if we think about Blythe, I think we'll all kind of agree that there's a vocal essence to his playing. Just like there is with Johnny Hodges or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, you write for The Voice a lot too, and use text.
Yeah.
But also, we were talking about that spiritual quality, and something I read about you having church pastors in your family history, right?
Yeah.
So speaking and it's declarative.
Yeah.
You get that sense of it coming directly through.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with that sound as a kid, like all my life, like someone preaching, speaking, that sort of intense, sort of like I'm trying to tell you something. I'm trying to get you to see something.
So here's an important message that you need to listen to.
Yeah. Here's an important message.
Yeah.
That's a good album title.
You can use that, my permission. But Virginia, is it Richmond or?
I grew up in the Tidewater area, which is like Virginia Beach and Norfolk.
Okay.
And you could put Hampton and Newport News. And then I moved to Richmond, which is the capital of Virginia, for college.
Right, you went to VCU, like so many other great musicians.
There's a lot, yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That is really cool. This French-American jazz program, it's something that I've participated in too, and I would imagine that, the opportunity to collaborate with a singer from France probably was creatively exciting for you.
Absolutely.
At the outset.
Yeah.
You write really differently for this band.
This project was kind of a homage to Bridget Fontaine, who is a great, just to be declarative, just great artist, French artist. I mean, she did a lot of vocal and music work, but she also was like a playwright, and she also was, very political, and she also was a very controversial person. She worked with the Art Ensemble of Chicago. She worked with Archie Shepp, Grace Jones. And so that connection for the album for me was interesting. And also diving into the folk lyric aspect of chanson, which is, their form of folk singing. They're, singing French song. And Émile Lesbros is a really amazing vocalist. I mean, she comes up in that tradition, but has dealt with experimentalism and everything. So I thought she would be a perfect conduit, and she is. She's just, every time we perform this music, I am blown away by her. Absolutely. And you write.
That's interesting hearing you say that about chanson songs forms, because it is more in that in your own way, clearly, but that particular piece we heard, the structural organization of it is interesting, and the fact, something that the rhythm section really digs into.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to, the whole idea of universal translator is trying to find that, I feel like folk music is really our way of connecting as human beings. So it's like your culture does this a little bit more like this, or your culture does this a little bit more like that. And I think that the more we kind of embrace those little bitty things, fascinating combinations come together. And so chanson and the blues. And I thought to myself, okay, so if we take out the voice and put, the connection of the blues inside of the music for a moment, am I really getting that far away from chanson? And I realize I'm not, because if it's just like, it's almost like the blues to me is like art song, and chanson kind of does the same thing. It's like art song. When you listen to the blues and you listen to chanson singers, there's a cultural difference, but there's something, an energy that's similar, and that's what I love. And so it's just like this idea of like translating over different cultural, places.
I mean, speaking of that, you started this group that has 4 singers.
Yeah.
It's called Elizabeth Carolyn
Unit. Yeah.
Unit.
Yeah.
And you don't play.
No. That whole ensemble is basically dedicated anything I do under that moniker, it will have voice in it. And like the voice will be the leading force.
Let me play a little bit of that. This is Oversoul
Manual. The Oversoul Manual.
Track 11, but I couldn't find a title anywhere.
I
didn't want to call it track 11.
No. This is Oversoul, man. You can't. The tracks are like ... Like if you look online, it's like ...
You guys, you can go to Darius's website and look it up under the discography, and you'll see what the title of this song is.
It's in a different language.
Oversoul. Oversoul.
Yeah, the Oversoul Manual is what the piece is called, the larger piece.
And why is the group called Elizabeth Carolyn Unit?
The Elizabeth Carolyn Unit was an ensemble that I actually created when I was in Richmond, Virginia, and it was just a way for me to kind of create my own ensemble, my own sort of like chamber.
But you always heard it as 4 female voices.
No, I mean the original the Oversoul the Elizabeth Carolyn Unit has been many different things.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there's been times where I've had horns and voice. Sometimes I have 3 voices and one instrument. I mean, I'm literally working on the next part of the Oversoul Manual right now, which is called The Same Soul Maker, and it'll have vibes and 3 voices.
Oh, I see.
And so it could the whole thing is about the voice being the front and center. It's my way of just I'm going to work with voice, and here's the ensemble. And the Elizabeth Carolyn Unit for the Oversoul Manual was 4 female voices, and
that's the one we just heard.
Yeah. And we worked on that for 3 years, just really getting into it. And the Oversoul Manual kind of dives into, this alien language, and it has a story behind it, a whole like
a mythology, you mean? Or
yeah, a whole
mythological
universe,
that you thought up back then, and that you're still drawing
absolutely
through in these compositions.
Yeah, and that work has 15 movements to it. Yeah.
Do you sing?
I used to sing a lot. Yeah, a lot. I grew up singing.
I would think you'd want to sing on some of these.
I do through my instrument.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And
that's my excuse too.
Oh, did you sing when you were?
I love to sing.
Yeah.
I've only sung on stage professionally once.
Really?
That I can remember. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but one of these days I'm going to do it.
Yeah. No, I think singing is the whole. I mean, we do it all the time in class, and when we teach, I sing. I talk about singing a lot. I just stopped shedding it. I stopped working on being a singer a long time ago.
So, one thing I would say is really different about your creation of this piece, maybe the big thing, at least from where I sit, is just composing for a group where you're not playing. Where you're not one of the performers. Everything we had heard up till now, you were playing in it.
In some capacity. I mean, Law and Order, I I played like very little.
You're following the instructions, but
Yeah.
you're still in the ensemble.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to write for ensembles where I'm not one of the performers.
You know what's funny is like when I did the Oversoul Manual and presented it, there was a lot of issue with me not performing.
Issue from the other performers or from
No, not from the other performers, but from other like
presenters maybe? Or?
not just presenters, but writers and just and
Critics.
musicians, critics basically, but not just critics. Some musicians, some folks who felt invested in my career and stuff like that, and so there was some intrepidation and fear and you're not playing, you're not the saxophone and blah blah. And to me, it's just like I always kind of say to them, I was like, why is it that I have to have a saxophone in my hand and be on stage playing for you to feel like it's mine?
It's fair enough. Yeah. I mean, right, that's the perception of it. But I think going back to the moment where you're sitting down to decide what the ensemble is and what the piece is and how you're going to write it, that's to me where the decision to not be one of the players, for you personally in your process, that's a...
No, it's man, when we play music, it's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So as a composer, that's how I look at it too. I mean, it's just like when I'm writing music, I'm not thinking it's a spiritual process. Being a musician is a spiritual process for me. It's not anything else. Mm-hmm. And so when I write, it's like, do I belong here? Mm. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I was like, oh, I'm asking them, I am here. Like, instead of do I belong here, I am here. If I need to be seen, then my ego is kind of caught up in the thing. And so it's just like, here's this. And it was a gift. Like these 4 ladies that I worked with, we had an amazing experience together working on the Oversoul Manual. I'll never forget it. And I don't think they'll ever forget it either. I feel like these ladies are like my sisters. You know what I'm saying? We're tight. And I gave them something and they gave me something. And there was a relationship that was created there. And that's what I'm trying to have in my musical
beautiful
life. Like in my career, it's just like those kind of deep experiences, whether with the horn or without the horn. I just want to share something with you. And I feel like I've kind of conducted my career along those lines.
You also wrote this piece, a pretty significant piece for solo flute.
Yeah.
Called There Is to Hear.
Yeah.
And it's based on poetry by Sun Ra.
Yeah, it's based on a poem where he says there is to hear. And Sun Ra is one of my major influences. And when I was asked to write a piece for flute, I thought about the idea of the composer and the interpreter, and the idea that there's more than one person, even though she's out there performing the piece in the classical world or new music world, and I'm not there, but it's kind of like I am with you.
Sure. I'll play a little bit of that. There Is to Hear. What's the name of the flute player?
Jennifer Wilhelm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she lives in Chicago, and she presented that earlier this year. She premiered it in Chicago earlier this year.
And what how does the Sun Ra text work for you there? I have it.
So let me just read this. The universe sent me to converse with you. If there is to hear, listen. But do not listen with your ears alone. You must feel your intuition sense. It is always the unknowing, knowing voice of the quiet, vigilant silence, your intuition sense. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm being what I'm supposed to be. It is a strange circumstance, like being upon an alien planet world, all alone. But I'm not alone. There is two here. And it's like, I think this is what this is what I'm trying to do as a musical and as an artist, is to really get out of the way and connect with God, and connect with the spiritual realm. It's just like, it is not just about me. Like when we play, when we do what we do, it is not just about you.
Right.
It's about the guys or individuals in the band. It's about the people who are there. It's about the people who may not be there. It's about the vibrations that you're sending out. It's about whatever you're triggering. And this piece is like that. It's like, and so in the second show, she performs, there's two movements. She performs the first movement, and then the second movement, she comes out with the first part of the text, and then she starts performing. And then at the end of the text, she at the end of the piece of the second movement, she then says, "I'm doing what I'm supposed to do." And when she did this in the performance, it was the most beautiful thing I had ever. I felt humility, like humbleness, like it's just like, and I'm just thankful. Like I'm very thankful, given where I came from to where I am now. Like it's like all the hardships, all the hard things that happen, I'm just grateful. That's it. Like I can't complain too much. I can, obviously, but I'm grateful for being here.
Did you meet Sun Ra?
No, I actually played with the Sun Ra Orchestra maybe twice, and I didn't. Sun Ra is one of those people that I would have loved to have met in real life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would have been able to be in the Sun Ra Orchestra because I'm not as, I don't know. I think I want to be Sun Ra, and I don't want to be like in the, you know what I'm saying?
It was
like,
difficult to be in the band.
I just, everything that I've read, everything that, it's just like, I don't think it's difficult to be in the band. I think it's probably the most amazing experience, but I think you have to be honest with yourself. Like for me, it's just like, I know myself, and I think I would be a bad band member. Wow. So
well, that's very self-aware, because a lot of times people, dream after gigs for years, and then they finally get it and they realize, oh, I'm not really the right person for this.
Yeah, I just care about it so much that I'm like, man, I think I would if Sun Ra was still here and I got the opportunity, obviously I would do it because I would want the experience.
Well, you'd get to meet him.
Yeah, right.
And it's the message.
Right. And then see his process. Also, that would be amazing to me. But, just being around Marshall Allen and talking with him and stuff like that, the few times that I have, was amazing. And it gave me a glimpse, but I think he represents something so much more. It's like Sun Ra to me is another one of those types of artists that is like not just a musician. He's like beyond. He's a poet. He's a philosopher. He's,
right.
Yeah.
And through so many different decades and generations and approaches to the music and the whole presentation of it.
Yeah, he gave us a lot.
Was profound.
Yeah, I mean, he gave us a lot. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It's like he gave us.
So
a lot.
I've been playing with Matthew Shipp, the pianist, for a good number of years,
Yeah,
and the project is called Cosmic Leader.
yeah, a duo that we've been doing. Yeah,
And you slipped me some new music that apparently is not out yet.
no, it's just some live
It's a tape
thing. Yeah,
of you
just
guys.
yeah, just a tape of us playing, and a little bootleggy.
Okay, so we're going to hear a little bootleggy Ship Jones song.
Great.
You got me.
Yeah, I love that duo. Ship was one of the many heroes that I wanted to interact with when I came to New York. I mean, he was someone I was listening to, like, a lot before I came to New York. And when we were able to, start working together and doing this duo, it was one of my dreams.
It sounds pretty magically hooked up.
Yeah,
The
there's something
listening
really
and
special about that duo. Like, to me,
Yeah.
not to be too egotistical, but I think it's one of his better duos. And I've said that to him.
I didn't expect you to say that way.
No.
That's good.
I just, I think it's a biased perspective, but I love playing duo with Matthew. Like, I just love it. I like because it's just such a language, it's a universe
Yeah.
that we create that's unique to us, and that's something I love having with another musician, where it's just like we're just getting to something that I can't get to with anyone else. And I feel like with Ship, there's things that I can get to and I can hear that he gets to, and that we find in the language that is Ship and Darius that is really, really fascinating. And I just love it. So.
He's been playing in great groups over a lot of years, and actually I first heard him when I first was in New York, which would have been the mid 80s. So we were both sort of just starting out. And
did you guys play?
I've played with him once or twice over the years, but we never really did any big project. But I admired him for those kind of relationships with special players.
Yeah. I mean,
so hearing this, reminds me of when I heard him rehearsing. In 1985.
Who was he?
I can't even remember. I think it was Rob Brown.
Oh man, and Rob is another
Rob
one of my
was
favorites.
A friend of mine from Berkeley.
Oh,
so we sort of ended up in New York at the same time, and then he ended up playing with Matthew Shipp. So I would hear them rehearsing around, sometimes at NYU, sometimes other places.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I want to say this in a good way, that the thing that astounded me then, I'm still astounded hearing this, what you guys did.
Yeah.
That magic, that listening.
Yeah.
That depth.
No, Matthew's really special, and this duo is really special, and I hope to do it until one of us dies. So,
well, that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Nope. It's
so
not.
What else? I'm sure you have new projects that are coming along.
Yeah, I've been working on a lot of solo saxophone stuff. I been working on this piece called Cartilage, which is kind of like a modular compositional kind of work. Also, I have been doing some work with an ensemble that I put together called Shades of Black, which is Cooper Moore on organ, Chad Taylor on drums, and Sam Newsom. I'm working on actually a commission for these really great brothers in Vancouver called Jesse and Josh Zubat.
Oh yeah,
have you heard of them?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the ensemble is going to be with like Peggy Lee and James Meager and drummer to be announced, and myself, and so I'm working on that. Great. I'm working on a commission.
When is that going to happen?
That's going to be premiered next year at the in Vancouver.
So I never know when people are going to listen to these episodes. So I'm having this conversation in 2019 with Darius Jones. So in 2020 is when you're going to get to hear them. What about the band with Sam Newsom that you mentioned?
Yeah, that band's just doing shows. We just did a show like in July, at the end of July. And I don't know, I'm not, like, recording is just, that band is great. Like, that's my like art ensemble band or something like that. Like it's like I want to just like play with them and get to a vibe. I mean, Sam's from Virginia, to around the same area and everything, and I just love being around these guys, like Cooper Moore, Chad. I just like all those, like Cooper Moore's another really great musical being. Sam is another great musical being. That's what I'm about. I'm doing that group, but there's a lot of other projects. I mean, stuff I'm doing with Faye Victor, stuff that I'm doing with Gerald Cleaver, stuff that I'm, it's like
great
other commissions.
Great.
All kinds
I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah.
You had invited me to play on a piece that had a political connection around the election in 2018. And for one reason or another, it didn't happen for me, which, but I'm sure that it's not far from your mind that there's another big election coming up in 2020. What do we do? Help me. Help me. I mean, I sort of feel like so many artists are stepping into creating pieces about activism and trying to mobilize people and just get that spirit out there that we got to participate, we have to engage. I've got a whole band dedicated to that idea, and I know a lot of other people do, and I know that you're going to come up with something deep about getting out the vote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to do a major thing next year again, because I did it in 2018, but I'm going to try to do it again. Just an event.
A get out the vote event.
Yeah, just like where I actually kind of use all the publicity to kind of like help people register, then help people then get out the vote, and then we have the thing an event right the night before, so that people can come together and feel encouraged to get up the next morning and vote.
Are you going to do that in New York?
Yeah, I probably will do it in New York again. I mean, because if I had connections elsewhere, I would try to do it all over the United States.
Yeah, it feels like we got to be doing it in Florida and Michigan and Wisconsin.
I don't know about Florida, man. It might be a lost cause. But but Michigan and some
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I mean, some of these other states, I kind of look at it like this. we can we can sit in horror and watch what's about to happen, because it's like you can see it. It's not like waking up one morning and it's like, oh wow, this thing happened. At this point, we're seeing the demise take place. They're not hiding what they're doing. They're not saying, oh, look away. The only people they're saying that to is the people who are following them. They're saying, close your eyes and trust us. We're gonna, this is gonna. But the people who are awake, who are watching, who are looking, if you're not doing something, I'm not saying what you should do. If you're not doing something, you don't care. And I say, and in my piece, Law and Order, there's a moment in there where every performer, there's an instruction, and they point to someone in the audience and says, you don't care. And the reason I say that is because a lot of times we don't care. We are full of apathy, privilege. Like, it makes us benign. It's wrong.
Oh, we have to fight against that.
Yes,
don't
we do. We must.
We have to be anti that.
Yes, we must.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is success in hell?
And on that bright note.
No, I mean, there's hope. There's hope. There's always beauty, but it's just like, that's how I look at it. It's like, you're
right.
Yeah, it's like, what is success? If you literally everything is falling around you, we must do something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we will. I think that even with that mobilization that has to happen, that people have to wake up, because the changes are now coming so fast. I'm talking about the climate, but I mean, just everything else, socially.
Man, I mean, our economy is
inequality
but
the racism and So all of that, like, even if we mobilize and make change at the ballot box, which we have to do, we have to support Stacey Abrams.
Yes.
And that get out the vote fight. Fair fight 2020.
Yes.
But at the same time, even with those changes, this is going to take a long time to turn around. So it's a long range goal of having this awakening where we don't have to live like this.
Right.
That's my belief.
No.
We all have to be little players.
Exactly.
Pushing towards that.
That's the message I'm really talking about. It's just like what you just said is exactly. And Stacey Abrams is a perfect example of that. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm not running for anything. What I'm trying to do is change this system, because why it's the way it is. She's kind of saying, I'm going to point and let you see.
They said, why don't you run for Senate? And she said, well, there's plenty of good people that are running for Senate, but if I don't fight to change the voter suppression,
gerrymandering,
none of us are going to get in.
Yeah, that's
so
what
I think that's Eric Holder's smart.
Yeah, Eric Holder's fighting gerrymandering, trying to figure out ways to knock down those situations. There should be someone dealing with the shootings. It will take all of us.
It's going to take a long time, too.
Yeah. And it
doesn't just end.
Yeah, it takes all of us too. We all have to keep our eyes open. We have to be vigilant and really fight against apathy, because that is what they want.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
Thanks for joining me, Darius.
Oh,
it was great talking to you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
I learned a lot.
Oh, I'm still learning. I'm a child, man.
Well, yeah. Great. We're going to go out with another segment from Law and Order. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Dave again. Thanks for listening. Please go to greenleafmusic.com and check out all the artists, podcasts, and the subscription plan over there. Thanks for listening.